talking about the record of achievement as well as the Nova Scotia Essential and Employability Skills Framework. Because the whole project started off with the record of achievement. And the record of achievement was a challenge for us at adult education because we had a number of different programs, the adult high school diploma and the GED. But if our learners didn't get one or other of those things, they came out with nothing, with zero. And so the whole idea for this project came out of how can we give these individuals a certification that they can take to an employer that's valid, that's recognized, that the government issues, for the skills and knowledge that they do have. So the basis of what you're going to see here is actually below high school. So we've done the Nova Scotia Essential and Employability Skills just for people who have not attained their high school education. So that adult ed is going to have 3 certifications that they give. One is the GED, one is the adult high school diploma, and eventually will be the record of achievement. This record of achievement was designed to be able to take for an individual without a high school to take to an employer and show that employer what knowledge and skills they actually do have. Because oftentimes you don't get through the door with this group of people unless you have your high school. And these are entry-level positions. 200,000 Nova Scotians at this time do not have high school or a high school equivalent. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of people. This is a whole bunch of people that are going to go to employers, and the employers are going to make an assumption about them that they're not job ready. So how are we going to help these individuals speak to an employer and show an employer what they actually have and they know and can do? And I have to apologize for this. When I put these slides together, my admin assistant, who's from New Brunswick and is francophone, but too much text. And I'm following Bill's wonderful presentations full of graphics, and he said at one event that I was at that said, "Oh God, I can't stand slides that have too much text." He didn't say a lot, he just said, "I can't stand slides that have so much text." So it offers a single common format with a standard that's consistent across the province. So you can go to any community organization and come out with a record of achievement that has on it all the knowledge and skills that we have assessed you for, and I'm using the royalty that you have been assessed for. And an employer will see the same thing. So if you go to FutureWorks in Truro and you get your program, you get assessed with an ROA, it is going to look exactly the same as somebody coming from a program in Liverpool here. So oftentimes you might come with a certificate of participation that you were in this program, but you won't have exactly what it is that you know and can do, so it gives some consistency for employers to do that. So, I mean, and this was great. We were really like, oof, here we go, this is wonderful, we're going to do this. And then thought about, well, there's a broader context happening out there other than adult learning programs. And, okay, so what are we going to assess them to? And we looked at a number of different things. I'm just skipping over some of this. And the first one, of course, was the essential skills. And we did a little project up front with one of the curriculum consultants right in adult education to take a look at how we might design some assessment to the essential skills. And it was really difficult, and we weren't getting what we needed and what we needed to take a look at. So we went looking elsewhere, as you might do with your own standards, and we found a standard in the United States called Equip for the Future. It was in process for, I want to say it's now almost 20 years old, and it has had a large amount of assessment and validation throughout the states. It's been used as the underpinning for the Scottish core curriculum for their essential skills, also for the Irish. So it has, good validity. And but the other piece that we were missing were those soft skills that employers always want to be able to see from an employee. So we decided that we were going to, and the Prior Learning Center has been doing this work with us right from the get-go. And they designed a group that we call the Personal Management Basics. And it started out with, Teresa, 16?
I don't remember.
15, you don't remember. Yeah, it started out with 16.
Something like that.
And we had to sort of bring it down from there. And that it's not a curriculum. Employability and Essential Skills Framework isn't a curriculum. There's one in Ontario. They put together something similar to this, but it's directly a curriculum. This is only a standards document. You could develop a curriculum from it, but what we really wanted to be able to do was have something that you could assess too. And this is what it looks like, and I'm sorry, I'll give you the handouts afterwards. Those are all of the areas. So personal management basics, what we have right now is self-management, cooperating with others, and adaptability and flexibility, and some of those headings underneath there. Then communication skills, reading, writing, listening, speaking, reasoning skills, and a little bit different from our regular essential skills that you see. It is numeracy includes measurement, finances, and management of time and materials. Document use actually is down here in use of information and communications technology. So then decision-making and problem-solving, organizing and planning, strategies for learning, use of information communications technology, and then at the bottom we have technical skills. So an individual that comes and wants to be assessed can be assessed on any of these individually, or all of them if they want, but we will also include on the record of achievement any technical skills that they may have achieved someplace else. So say food handling, occupational health and safety from their particular employer, WMIS, any of those sort of certifications if they have first aid, something else that they may have learned, that they have a certification for that is current, will put on the record of achievement under their technical skills. So this is what it looks like. We have levels, and as you'll look at this and you say, now why does it go 1, 3, 5? What is that? Why is it not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? When we looked at the Equip for the Future program, it had 5 levels, and I really like the fact that it had 5 levels because our learners who are going from level 2 in essential skills to level 3 in essential skills, it's a big jump. There's a whole lot of learning in there, and those individuals could get, well, I'm almost at level 3, but I got to back and take care of my mother, and I'm not going to get out there, and so we wanted to look at smaller increments. And we have actually achieved the smaller increments because if you look at level 3 or level 5 here, it doesn't compare to level 3 in the essential skills. It's lower than level 3 in the essential skills slightly. So we wanted to give smaller increments because individuals wanted to be able to see and have what they really knew and can do articulated onto this document. We are changing this. It is going to go to 3 levels. And there are some reasons for that, and you don't need to know all of those reasons, but we're doing a lot of work on this and validating it, and that was one of those areas that we really struggled with. I'm looking at Kathleen because Kathleen and Meredith Hutchings have been working on this. Brilliant work. I'm so proud of them. We just went through our first validation and we got a whole bunch of experts take a look at it and give us some information back, including Paul Brinkers. And it has helped immeasurably to inform how it's being developed and how it's being able to be moved forward. So we'll go through this iteration. We will embed those comments, and then it'll go back out to validation again, right? We'll have our subject matter experts take a look at it again. I'm just going to skip up here. Ooh, where did it go? What we started out with, when we started out developing the C's, is that we started out with these standard template headings. Now, I have learned since that, okay, there's lots of all kinds of standards headings and they're all good. I was really wedded to this one. And so what I put my poor colleagues through was make it fit this, because I like the way it was broken up, right? The general content of the unit, the description of proficient performance, performance indicators, dimensions of performance, which is, can you do it easily? Can you do it in a range of situations? Can you do it by yourself? And examples of performance in different situations, assessment criteria and evidence, future learning activities, so that they could know, okay, it was way too much. Because what you get when you have this level of learner and you're talking about reading, it's too complicated. It's too complicated for the assessor. It's too complicated for the employer who might be looking at it. It's too complicated for the learner who might be looking at it and trying to do some self-assessment. So the good thing that I learned, and I'm learning it every day, and I'm being humbled as I go along, is that good standards can have a variety of formats. So, and I do have some copies here of the reading standard. It all fits on one page, but because I'm not Phil, I can't make it look good. But this is what it essentially looks like. I have to go back one more. What you get is you get the overall standard for reading on the first page. And it tells you quite specifically what we're talking about when we're talking about the skill of reading. And then it breaks it down into the three levels. And these are the standards. So if you look at it, it goes up in difficulty as you go up to the third level. And at each level, it is able to read, understand, analyze, and integrate ideas from simple text, familiar vocabulary, simple sentence structure, and then you have to be able to do that independently and with ease. And as you go along, it goes some unfamiliar vocabulary, multiple paragraphs, variety of sentence structures, and independently with ease, and then it gets more complicated. So trying to carry the same kind of learning all the way through it, getting complicated at each level. And then you get the performance indicators. And I love performance indicators. I'm sorry, I'm still wedded to performance indicators. When you talk about this, and what we, I'm using the royal we, Meredith and Kathleen, have come to is that every one of these performance indicators is where your assessment comes. You're going to assess to each one of these. Now, mind you, you might start here, and if they prove they can do that, then you go to the next one. But those performance indicators then provide us with the detail that we need for the assessment. What are we going to assess? The pieces that we used to have in the standard are what proficient performance looks like. We've taken out of the standard and we're putting it into the guides. So the assessor guide, or the learner guide, or the employer guide. So that what the standard has in it is only the essential detail. All of those other examples of proficient performance, what you might, educational programs that you might need to go into after that, because we will align it with our adult education programs, will all be included outside of the standard and what the standard looks like. As we're creating the standard at the same time, okay, we're crazy, but at the same time, we are doing pilot assessments. And because we started out over a year ago, using essential skills in the EFF as the standard for the assessment, the Prior Learning Center trained the assessors from 2 pilot sites to do assessments to those standards. So they've been teaching people how to do valid assessment for quite a long time. And, working with the principles of assessment: validity, reliability, fairness, flexibility, sufficiency, currency, and authenticity. We want to make sure that when the employer sees this, they know that what they're getting is what they're seeing on the paper, right? We want to have this be very valid. And the assessment methods that the assessors are using include observation and validation, learner reflection, structured or competency conversations, observation of performance, third-party reports, and because sometimes you just have to test somebody in math, it's written or oral testing. Is there anything else you would like to add about the standards development?
Well, no, I think you've said it well, Diane. I just want to say that what was important to us in this process, and as Diane has pointed out, the intention was to develop a mechanism so that employers could look at a person in front of them and decide what kinds of skills that they had. And we wanted to do it in a way that it would be external and neutral and so on. And so somebody could come in with something that was validated by the province of Nova Scotia, someone who did not have a high school education or a GED, but would have something that would say, this is what I can do. This is really aimed for the work site. So it is intended to be written in language that's work site based. It's intended to be about the skills, not what the person knows, which was one of the points that Diane pointed out that we started with. We thought in terms of knowledge. We quickly realized that in fact it wasn't the knowledge that was key here, it was the skills. What can the person actually do? So those are some of the attributes I think that we saw as being really important to this process. It has been a case of kind of developing as we go. We have been piloting as we go, and we are currently, if I may say, at the external validation stage, which Phil has described very well, and the complexity of making sure that we're getting good validation. The validation has been extraordinarily helpful and useful. We have spoken to 5 different validators, provided them with the information. They have very honestly and earnestly provided us with all kinds of feedback, and now we're going through the process of revising the framework. So in fact, what you're seeing, as Diane has explained, is being revised. Our intention through that revision process is to keep the benchmarks crisp and clear and aligned with the performance indicators. So those are sort of the key things that we have developed or that we've learned through this external validation process. There were times when we thought that the performance indicators were crisp and clear and closely aligned, and they were not. So we're trying to kind of improve that process. Once we've developed what we think is our next best step at producing clear performance indicators that are closely aligned with the standards that are set, and as Diane has explained, trying to keep the standards fairly high level so that an employer doesn't need to know, pages and pages of what this person can do, but can look very specifically at what level the person is at in terms of these 12 different areas. When we've gone through that process, that we will then invite subject matter expert input on the specific areas. So someone who's an expert in reading, for example, will be asked to give us feedback on that. And someone who's an expert on numeracy will be asked to give us feedback on that. And no doubt we will again realize that more revision is demanded, is required. We are simultaneously looking for input from employers, because that's really the audience that it's aimed for. The employer will see a 2-page record of achievement, that is assessing the skills of this particular person, and it has to make sense to the employer. So we're simultaneously going through that process of seeking feedback from the employer, and we're also simultaneously piloting it. Now keep in mind that we're talking about a really wide range of points of entry. If someone comes to us without a high school, without a GED, but would like something to help them improve their job prospects, or perhaps their learning opportunities prospects, we want to be able to provide them with something that's usable. That's one point of access, is somebody coming in and saying, I know I can do things, but I need an assessment that's externally validated, and we can help them with that process. Most often, the point of entry will be through the SOL or through other adult learning programs, where somebody's already in some kind of adult learning program, and at the end of it, they may not have their GED, they may not have their high school, but they've acquired some skills. We need to assess those skills, and the instructor may well be the right person to do the assessment. Having said all that, we know that we will need to undertake annual adjustments as we go, particularly as Philip has pointed out, at the beginning stages. It would be really important to kind of adjust frequently at the early stages. So we anticipate that this will be done annually, and then as time goes by, the adjustments may not need to be quite so frequent. We're trying to line it up with other programs across the province of Nova Scotia. So that's basically the game plan, and I just want to say that this is something that Nova Scotia is really taking a leadership role in, and there is interest in other provinces and jurisdictions across the country, because I think all the provinces right across the country, all the territories are in the same position we're in, and that is that they need labor force, and they have a labor force that's underutilized right now, partly because of this assessment issue. So,
yeah. Thank you. One of the neat things that came back from the validation that I was really worried about is people were enthusiastic and said, oh great, this looks wonderful, keep going, but make these changes. But it was, for me, I had this little catch in my throat as I was waiting for the validations to come back and expecting there may be people saying, you're out of your mind, stop now. But we got none of that. We got really good, positive feedback. This is, I won't go through the quality assurance stuff. I will talk a little bit about the pilots. We have 2 pilot sites, 3 assessors trained, 18 learners received their records of achievement. It really helped us to understand and define the training program for the assessors. One of the things that came out of it is, we always think there's more learning is, yes, they go through the assessment, but then the learners all are going to need to know how to use this with employers. So it's another piece that needs to be developed in the future. Currently, we're in phase 2. Phase 2 of the pilots, we took what we had for the NACs and froze it last October when the pilot started. So all of this development work that we've been doing since then will be applied to the next implementation phase that comes up next fall. So we've got 13 pilot sites, we've got assessor training, mentoring, moderation. The previous pilot sites had all been adult learning programs. And this time, because of requests, we jumped over and said, okay, can this be done by career practitioners? Can this be done at Department of Community Service? At Immigration, Settlement, and Integration Services, thank you, Justice. Can someone from AWINS do this? Will the Nova Scotia Community College do this? So we are out there with training people in a variety of situations to see if it can be handled in those places. Some of the things that I'm mostly concerned with is, with career counselors, there may need to be partnerships. Go to an adult learning program, get your assessment done, whether it's CAMRA that FutureWorks uses, or CARA, or TOES, or something else. TOES or TOWS? TOWS. Good. But how can we partner to make this work? Right now, the assessor training is, face-to-face, and the moderation, and Teresa and her crew are going out to the different sites to actually see and help people as we go along. As we get more sophisticated with the assessor training, we're looking at, can we do PLAR 101 online, some real-time, some distance, to be able to make it the assessor training more accessible to a variety of different people. So the next piece that we're doing with this, we got so many pieces. But one of the pieces is that we're going to do is we are going to align the different sections of the Nova Scotia Essential Employability Skills Framework with essential skills profiles. The essential skills profiles online, I'm sure many of you may have looked at them. They're really interesting and comprehensive when it comes to what level of essential skills in reading, writing, and do you need for a particular job. So we're going to do some work with that. We're aligning it with our adult learning program outcomes. So if you're in a learning program, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're at level 3, you're at level 2 here. If you're a level 5, you're at level 3 here. So we'll do some aligning for that so that across the province in those programs, there's not an extra assessment that happens. You get assessed in these programs anyway. And then we'll also work along that same line with the care of the camera and the TAUS. So really trying to make it work with existing assessment tools. And we're going to develop user guides for learners and employers. We've got it first. We're working on the assessor one, but we have more to go. Planning for implementation. Lots of foundational work has been completed, but we have so much to do because we want to put it on the website. We want there to be printed guides and things like that. We need to have a database within our group to be able to generate the certificates as well as to ensure that we have only accepted assessors doing the assessments. Interdepartmental work we've got to do in marketing and promotion to employers, and Nancy's been out there. And actually, if anybody from the sector councils right now would like to put some input, Nancy Anderson here from the PLC is our go-to woman for employer engagement. I have some materials you can take a look at to see if within the sector councils you would like to comment on maybe what the NACIS looks like, what the record of achievement looks like, how it might apply to your work and to the things that you're doing right now. So we'll go out with that a little bit more in the future. Right now we're just doing validation with employers. Government is really sticky about communications materials being validated by the deputy before you put them on the table. I'll take a breath. Okay. I'm changing hats right now because my position is recognition of prior learning and labor mobility manager. And as I said before, who the hell is going to pay for all of this? I have some money. But if I look at the number of people in the room and I look at the number of programs and requests that I might get from this learning for standards development, I'm not sure we have enough. So what I think, the funding, request call for proposals will go out, but don't wait for the call for proposals to come out. You can give me a call, you can talk to me about what it is that you may need, and we can start to work together on any project that you think that might be helpful to you as far as standards development is concerned and assessment to those standards. Okay? The other piece that we're doing in a large way is, and I have another pocket of money for that, is assessment for individuals with international qualifications. One of the great things about doing the standards the way that Phil has been describing is it works for those 200,000 people that we have without high school education. It works for our internationally qualified, and it works for someone with a degree. So if you've got somebody with a degree in chemistry and you want them to be a manager at a hotel, they're still going to have to meet that competency standard. So, recognition of prior learning keeps me going to work every day, I have to say. And what keeps you going? This is so exciting. I think it's exciting. I believe that quality occupational standards and quality learning outcomes in a program are the underpinning structure for recognition of prior learning. So if we're going to do valid recognition of prior learning, what we're talking about today is one of those essential pieces. People in the past looked at PLAR a little bit like airy-fairy, you're trying to get around the certification or going to school. Untrue. But our methodologies may not have been as rigorous as we needed them to be to prove that to people. I believe with these occupational standards that we've developed, with the good assessment methodologies that we've been developing, I think we will be able to prove to people that good assessment through RPL is going to show you people who have the skills that you need for the jobs they have.